Alright, so it's the morning after. I stupidly forgot to open the fuel valve, and so now I'm going to try to bleed the system. The good thing about this boat is that, well, theoretically, this is higher than the fuel pump, the fuel filter over here. So I cracked that valve open right here, which is just an outlet right here. I believe that's the correct one to bleed the line there. Yeah, just gonna hopefully be able to open this and let gravity kind of fill the system that way instead of trying to crank the motor or manually pump the fuel into the system, and hopefully that'll fill up the fuel filter enough, and then I can start cracking these injector lines and just crank the engine a little bit, and hopefully that'll solve the issue. Alright, so I think I got it figured out. Luckily the original owner probably left us this whole manual, which is super cool old school manual that literally like tells you how to rebuild the whole motor. New manuals don't really do that, so that's super nice to have. This one turns out, I think that is the proper vent. I did get some fuel coming out of there. It's a little outlet there. I guess it could be used for return. The manual says to loosen this screw right here, which is the vent valve on hydraulic head, and then this screw right here that my finger's on, and we got some diesel coming out of that one now, so that's kind of the highest point in the system. Hopefully that should mean the whole line is purged of air and we should be good to go. So I'll tighten those back up and we'll give it a whirl. So one of the cool things about this little DJI camera is you can connect it to your phone. So actually I'm going to go up to the cockpit, start the motor, and use this camera as my second set of eyes to keep I'm not very good at controlling it with my phone, but just to kind of be able to see the motor remotely while I'm up there. Kind of cool. Well, guess we're not fully purged yet. Let me crack these other injector lines and see if that helps. Alright, I got these, I got all four cracked, and I'm going to do the same thing again. Just keep an eye on it from the camera here. Alright, we did get a little bit of fuel coming out of there, I think, so I'm going to tighten these back up and hopefully that's it. Alright, everything's tightened back up, so let's give it one more go. Well, everyone's right. This is a pain in the butt. Alright, so I cranked over the motor a few times now. Opened this, and I think my little O-ring was bad on the fuel filter here. So maybe it wasn't pulling a vacuum. This was actually empty a little bit. This is the filter wall here. So I replaced that O-ring, kind of topped that off with some spare diesel that I have. We'll give it another go, I guess. And I'll get you all set up to watch for me here. Okay, keep an eye on this, guys. I gotta go turn the key on.
Uh-oh.
What the hell, Malvina? What'd you do?
Back in business, baby. Running just fine. Go through and check for leaks again after this. Yeah, I'm glad. I'm not glad that I had to do that, but I'm glad that I got to learn that while at the dock instead of out in the middle of the ocean. So we'll chalk it up as a learning experience and try not to do that again.
Alright, so let's just do a little recap of what happened here. Basically, I forgot to open the fuel valve. That ran us out of fuel. The fuel line comes down here. This is the fuel pump. On the other side of that, there's a little manual lever there for so you can do it by hand. So we did that to try and prime the system. Then the next thing was to had to open that little valve right there. That allows the fuel filter to be purged. Then I had to open that one right there. And then there's another vent valve right above it too that I had to open. So all those had to be open. Then we do the manual little prime pump there. And then after those are all purged and you have fuel coming out of them, then you open this guy and prime it again until fuel's coming out of that. Then you close that back up, and then I opened all 4 of these. The manual said you could just open 2, but I figured all 4 is better. Just purge the whole system. Might lose a little bit more fuel down in the pan, but now we're sure that there's no air in there. And then to purge that, you have to crank the motor. So we cranked the motor for a few seconds. Fuel started coming out of all of these little injector ports there. Close those back up, and then it took a little, maybe a 5-second crank, and then we were all started back up. So that's the solution there.
And then
you can cut out the
ends. Lots of ends.
There's a lot of ends here. No more ends. So I tried to replace the oil pressure sender and the temp sender yesterday. No worky. So I did already get these. I was planning on installing them anyway, so I'm gonna try and swap them out. And hopefully it's a direct swap out and just the gauge is bad, but I suspect with this rat's nest of wiring in here, we might have some crossed wires in here somewhere, especially with this terminal block here that looks like somebody has done some kind of half-ass work. So we'll hope for the best, and then I'll get rid of this and just splice all the wires so they're all sealed up and not just wiggling around in there open.
How much fun are you having?
This is the most fun I've ever had.
Wait, hold on, show the world.
Okay, so I think I showed you guys earlier. It was a rat's nest in here. It's still not great, but I'm just trying to, this is proof of concept, okay? I'm just trying to make it work. And I did find a new wire route, so that's good. So I can kind of rerun all these wires if I want to, but I ended up patching all the wires in there and rerouting them through the engine room, which I'm pissed about now because I do want to just rerun them because they had a bunch of copper wires in there too that are not marine grade, and I'm assuming that may have been the problem. These 2 little wires, I still haven't tested them yet, but both of them, I would get good voltage or good resistance down in the engine room. But up here I would get like way high resistance, like 250 ohms up here and 70 down there. So I'm assuming it was the wire. Might be the ground wire too. I might have to re-pull that one too. So we'll see. But I'm gonna try it out right now. If Melvin will hang out with me for just one more second.
Got you,
Alright,
babe.
honestly, I am kind of embarrassed to even admit this, but the gauges are all working now. And it was just a bad ground. So I could have just ran 1 extra wire down there instead of, the whole engine room did need to be kind of rewired. They had all kinds of terminal blocks in there and just kind of weird splices, and I didn't do the best job because it was kind of a quick job. I just wanted to get these going, but all these wires were just kind of floating down there in engine like area, right, which is kind of sketchy. So I kind of zip tied them all up and ran them a little bit more direct and got it tidied up a little bit, but it is still a work in progress. But all I needed that whole time, this took me the whole day almost, aside from fixing that, aside from bleeding the diesel fuel lines, that's what I've been doing all day. Yeah, it was just bad ground. So another learning process, I guess. I hate to admit it, being an electrician and all, but I don't work on motors very much. I do commercial and residential electrical work, not motor stuff. Since we're on the topic, this is the ground that was running up there that everything was connected to. You know what? Is that terminal bad? Oh, it might be. They crimped that bad. Because I was testing from here to the battery ground, and I was getting, continuity. So I was like, it has to be good. Everything says that this should be fine. But I just noticed that. Look at that wiggle. I wonder if that whole thing is just busted out right there. Ay. Alright. Well, could have found that earlier. Just took it off, and that will do it. It's kind of tough to zoom in on that, but that's fully not connected at all. That's terrible. Oh my gosh, that just killed a whole day of mine. Stupid little crimped connector. Ay. Sorry to dwell on this, but look at that. There we go. You can see there was never even a wire in there. They just pinched the plastic around it. God freaking. Ugh.